Okay, guys, we're here with the biggest supplement owner in the entire continent of Asia. Reece, welcome, brother, to Dubai.
Thanks for having me, bro.
So let's get straight into this podcast. So a lot of people want to know, how did you start such a big supplement company? What are the secrets to make it so big?
Yeah, so everything big starts out small, right? I had a group chat of friends on Twitter. We all met just through posting, started a group chat, and one day we're like, we should start a supplement company. Form a group chat on Telegram, boom, who's in, who's out, we're in, put cash in, start developing a product, launch it on Twitter, and that was about a year ago. Since then, we've been doing extraordinarily well. I've traveled the world with my friends. I've met many great people, and we've turned nothing into something.
Great. So a lot of people at home watching this are thinking, how can I start a supplement brand or any other kind of brand? Do you think it's more about the marketing, more about the product? What's your secret? You're obviously the marketing guy, right?
Yeah, so you can't have one or the other. It's not a one or the other equation, right? You can have the best product in the world. You can have a product that literally everybody would want, but if nobody knows that it exists, you're not going to sell any of it. Likewise, you could have the best marketing in the world. You could be the most famous person in the world, but if your product is terrible, someone's going to buy it. You're going to get bad reviews. Your company's going to go down the drain.
100%.
So it's not a one or the other question. Realistically, traffic and attention and marketing is slightly more important simply because it's the only thing that generates cash flow. You can't sell anything without attention.
100%. Yeah, they say attention is the new oil now. You need it for any business. I think a lot of people as well, they overthink how they're going to get that attention. They're like, they just don't know where to get it from. They're thinking which social media platform is the best. What would you say to that? Do you think it matters where you get the attention? Does it matter which platform?
Look, their different platforms have different advantages, different disadvantages. You need to lean into what works for you. If you're good on camera, maybe YouTube or maybe short form. If you're good at writing, like I am, maybe start on Twitter. It doesn't actually necessarily matter where you get the traffic from. You just need to lean into what you're best at.
Yeah. What about if someone's not sure what they're good at? They're like, bro, I'm not really good at anything. Then what would you say?
Well, then you need to get good at something really fast.
That's what I say. Yeah, because people say, bro, I'm not good at sales because I'm an introvert. And I'm like, well, stay broke.
You're not going to make it.
Then you have to become more extroverted. And I think this whole introvert-extrovert thing is mostly a myth anyway, because depending on who I'm with, I'm more introverted or more extroverted.
100%.
And it's a sliding scale anyway. You can make yourself more extroverted if you grow your business, you grow your confidence, you go gym. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I used to think of myself as an introvert.
Really?
The whole time I was growing up, I was homeschooled. I moved around a lot, maybe didn't have that many friends. So I thought I was an introvert. It turns out I just wasn't putting myself out there.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have anything going for me. Once you get some accolades under your belt, you start leveling up in life, you start fighting, you get a good physique, you make some money. All of a sudden, you don't want to be an introvert anymore. You love meeting people.
100%, yeah. So how long were you homeschooled for?
Entire life, from kindergarten all the way through high school.
Boys, I never knew this, and I've spoken to him a lot, obviously. That's crazy. You never went to normal school?
Never once went to normal school. My dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. I was on military bases, moving here, moving there, never stayed still. My mother is a very great woman. She homeschooled me, taught me a lot, and it came with a lot of benefits, honestly. Like, I think a big problem that a lot of people have, and this translates into business as well, is people get stuck in a box when they're in school. Maybe they're in this clique, or they hang out with these people, or they're told this thing by this teacher or by this group of people, and they turn that into their identity, and they go through their entire lives as the same person they were in high school, which was probably a loser, and it imprints on their mind. Whereas I was homeschooled, didn't have anybody around me. I was completely free to do whatever I wanted to do. I was never put into a box by anybody. I was able to pursue my own passions at whatever pace I wanted to.
I've never met someone who's been homeschooled, so this is interesting. So how does it work? Do you have an actual schedule, an actual routine you have to follow? Did you ever get away with missing lessons, telling your mom, I don't want to study today, I want to, How did you explain it, basically?
Yeah, so there's definitely different types of homeschoolers. Like, there's a stereotype, especially in America, of homeschoolers being like really weird, socially awkward, which is 100% true for the majority of the time. A lot of so-called homeschooling is actually just not schooling at all. The way I was raised, because my parents wanted to homeschool specifically to give me a better education.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily for religious reasons. It was literally just the education quality. So I personally did more schoolwork and had more of a rigid schedule than probably people who went to school. Like I said, my dad was a military man, so I was on a military schedule.
Great. Because I've heard so many people talk about how they want to homeschool their children, and I was thinking, yeah, that does sound better than letting, random teachers teaching my kids. But then I was thinking, are they going to turn out socially weird? But to see you being homeschooled, that's given me more confidence. That's actually better.
Yeah, it just depends on what you do. Like, there's not actually social isolation for the kid if he's playing sports, if he's in this activity with these groups of people. He's getting more socialization than anybody else.
Yeah. And most kids in school are introverted anyway. They just sit in the library
Exactly,
and
they're losers.
Get bullied. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so many people don't know what your business is exactly. Do you want to just explain it again? So you have supplements. What kind of supplements do you want to go into
So
them?
when we started the company, we had some traffic going. We had a group of friends, and we're like, all right, we need to turn this into a business. Obviously, we're all business-minded people. We need to do something with all this attention we're generating. So there's obviously many different routes to go. We can start selling info. We can start doing this. And we came to the conclusion that the best thing we could do is sell something that would help people like us, people who are into being athletic, people who are into the gym, people who are into business, ambitious people of any category, right? You can be ambitious in a lot of different ways. Artists are ambitious, athletes are ambitious. All ambitious people need the same kind of things, right? You need high testosterone, you need energy, and you need to be able to focus on whatever you're doing, right? It doesn't matter whether you're ice skating or whether you're a boxer, whatever you're doing, you need to have full focus and energy to do it. So we started leaning into, okay, supplements is probably the best way we can help. I have a background kind of in biohacking. I've always been into that. I've tried a lot of different things. And we started developing, based on my experiences, started developing a product that we felt would give every ambitious man the tool they need to go harder, right? We can't do anything for you. We can't go to the gym for you. We can't work for you. We can't give you ambition. But if you already have those things, if you're already on the right path, you're already doing the right things, we can help you add another 10 or 20% on top of that.
100%.
And that's what our supplement line is about.
Yeah, I always say that to people. I think energy is the most important thing. It doesn't matter what you're trying to achieve. If you have more energy, you'll win. Energy is everything.
Everything in life, there's no rich versus poor. There's no high IQ versus low IQ, smart versus, none of that exists. The only gap between people is energy levels.
I agree.
Look at we're in the most energetic city in the world, possibly Dubai. All the people at the top level, they work 16 hours a day. They never run out of energy.
100%. People think this whole idea as well of work every day means you're literally on your laptop on Excel for 16 hours a day. That's not what working 16 hours a day means. You do a podcast here, then you go for dinner with someone else. You're talking about this business idea. You're calling your suppliers. Then you call your mom, and then she's organizing something. And then you have your assistant. You have these 10 employees. You're managing these people. You hire a manager. Like, it's different kinds of work as well. And also, you enjoy doing what you're doing. You're building your own dream life. But yeah, everybody I've ever met at the top who's also successful, they're getting so much volume done every single day. You guys flew in today. You got here, I think, 9 a.m. Straight onto the day, You didn't sit there and sleep for 12 hours thinking, we're tired from our flight. You just got to get on with it.
Yeah. The type of work, like you mentioned, the type of work that you do, what people at the bottom don't understand is that there's many different types of work. When you first get into business, usually whatever type of business you start, you are doing a lot of just laptop, Excel, like there's a lot of that work. As you level up, the work becomes less physical and a lot more mental. So, people who are watching this who maybe aren't that far into business, they don't understand how us going to dinner is actually work yet.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have to understand that before you can start leveling up, because you need to start taking all your low-level tasks and not doing them anymore so you can start focusing on high-level tasks.
That's the thing. People think work is like this negative thing. They're like, I don't want to work 16 hours a day. So when they hear us talk about working hard, they think it's a chore. But we enjoy it because there's nothing else to do.
What else is there to do?
Like, literally, there's nothing else to do besides trying to better our own lives. If you go to dinner and you just talk about this wall is nice, this food is nice, that's boring. Like, there's actually nothing to talk about besides making more money, leveling up, traveling to more countries. But even then, travel with a purpose. Even if you just travel just to look at random landmarks and views, that's even boring. It's all about achieving things.
Everything, especially lifestyle stuff. Nothing gets old faster than lifestyle stuff.
Agreed.
Right?
All dinners are the same, man.
It doesn't matter. The first time you go out to a really nice restaurant, it feels cool. The second time, it just feels like dinner. And it's like that with everything. You come back to the fact that there's nothing actually exciting to do. You can go on a yacht, you can go on jet skis. It's fun for an hour, and then you're bored. What are you going to do that every day?
You need a challenge. You need something to actually, You need something that's difficult. You work on it. You take losses. You learn from that. Then you get wins. Like, you need to go through that as a man. I feel like only women just like consumption, consumption, consumption. You know, women can go to the same nice dinner spot every night and be happy.
Yeah.
They take their Instagram story, they wear their dress, they do their makeup. But as a guy, it's like, we only go to these places for women anyway. And just, we don't like that shit. We just like making money, leveling up. So I feel as a man, you're only going to be happy when you're making progress. So that leads on to another question. What about you, bro? When are you the happiest? When is Reece the happiest? Maybe what's your dream day look like? Or when are you the happiest in your life? Is this the happiest you've ever been? Answer it how you want.
So there's different types of happiness. There's carnal happiness, which is, you know, you're out at the club and you're drinking. It's fun. You're happy in the moment. There's fulfillment, which is how you're going to get long-term happiness. So for short-term fun, I like hanging out with my boys. I like doing fun stuff with my boys. But like I said, that gets old. You don't stay happy. You do that for a few days, you're happy, you're joyous, and then the third day, you don't feel anything. So the only way to get lasting joy, I think, is to constantly be progressing, and usually in multiple areas, right?
Yeah.
There's times in life where you have to be fully focused on what you're doing, right? There's times where I'm fully focused on the business, can't be absolutely fucked about anything else. But you also should have other goals, right? You need to be seeing progression in everything, because you have a 5-year plan over here. It's hard to see that progression. But then if you have maybe your fitness goals over here and you're trying to do handstand push-ups, you're seeing progression on that every day. You're getting dopamine hits from that every day, while simultaneously you're doing your 5-year business plans and getting your daily business goals done. So the only way to achieve lasting happiness is to constantly see everything around you improving due to your actions.
That's when people start feeling old. They start feeling old when everything's regressing. They're like, oh, back in high school, I used to lift this much, or back 10 years ago, I used to make this much money, or I had this wife, but then they no longer can lift that amount of weight. They no longer make that much money. They no longer date that girl and she divorced him and all this stuff. It's like, you need to constantly be leveling up. If you're always looking back 5 years ago and thinking those days were better, you're going to be depressed. Even if you're a multi-billionaire, if now all of a sudden you're only worth 300 million and everything in your life has gone down, your cash flow has gone down, your house has gone, you've lost your mega mansion and now you live in a smaller mansion, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be like, I fell off from where I was.
In fact, nobody is more depressed than people who have a lot of money who stop working. Like, there's infinite stories of very successful people who maybe sold their company or they quit working, and they're the ones who become the most depressed.
For sure. I really believe as a guy, it doesn't matter what you have. It's all about your trajectory. You know, so for me right now, a lot of people say, how does it feel to have 6 supercars? I'm like, bro, it feels how you feel with a Mercedes. It feels how you feel with no car, because then it just becomes your new normal.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to go backwards. That's the main thing. So,
seeing a brighter future. So 2 men can be the exact same situation. You can live in a literal trap house infested with cockroaches, not have a dollar to your name. 2 men both live in that situation. One has no hope of it getting better. He knows his life's never going to change. The other one can see the trajectory that he's on. Maybe he's got something working on the side.
cooking up an album.
He's cooking up something. He's in the trenches.
Yeah.
But he's happy every day because he can see that the future looks bright. That's the only thing that's going to keep you going. Hope is the most important emotion. Without hope, you just die.
100%. You know that meme where it's like there's 2 people sat on the bus. One is looking at that nice view. One of them's looking at the wall. You know, and it's like the guy looking at the wall's depressed. It's just all about perspective. Instead of looking that way, you can just look that way. You can just literally change the way you view things. Or it's like the whole story of the bottle's half full or half empty.
Yeah.
You know, that classic perspective shift.
It's both. It's just depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, and you choose how you look at it. You choose your emotions. You choose the people you spend time with. You choose what food you eat. You choose when you wake up. You choose when you sleep. You choose how hard you work. And a lot of people are depressed and they don't have motivation to actually get anything done. But that's because they're not getting anything done. As you start doing more things, you have more energy to get more done. So a lot of people look at successful people and say, how do they have so much energy? It's because they're doing more. As you do more, you develop more energy. You know, when you're winning, you get more energy. Right now, what time is it? I think it's like 11:40 at night.
Yeah.
Midnight, I think. I've got tons of energy because we're talking, we're having a good conversation, we've had a good day.
Look, I slept for 2 hours. I was traveling all last night. Now it's 16 hours later. I still haven't slept, and I'm sitting here doing a podcast full of energy. It's because I like what I do.
Yeah.
It's because I'm enjoying what we're doing, and I know that life's only getting better from here. Energy it's a flywheel. The more you use your body, the more your body works for you, right? Why are people depressed? It's because they don't do anything.
They're stationary.
Exactly. You're laying on the couch watching Netflix. Of course you're depressed.
Yeah. It's like that classic example of one of Newton's laws, one of the physics things. It's like, it's harder to move a stationary object. Once an object is already moving, once you've got the ball rolling down the hill, it's easier for the ball to carry on rolling down the hill. That applies to everything. You know, I always say to people, it's literally better to be regressing. It's literally better to going backwards than to be stationary. I'd rather be moving forwards, of course, but I'd actually rather be losing progress in my life than staying in the exact same position. And the reason why I use this analogy of, imagine your car is stuck in the snow or stuck in mud or stuck in the desert, right? If the car's not moving forwards or backwards, now you're cooked. Like now you actually need help. You need to call someone. At least if you can push the car forwards, or at least if you can push it backwards, like from the other side, now you're going to be able to move the car and get it out of the snow, mud, sand, whatever. But when it's stationary, that's when you're the most cooked. Yeah. It's the same thing with life. Too many people are afraid of going backwards, so they just stay in the same position for years on end. It's better to just do anything, even if it doesn't pay off. It's better to take a move and it fail. At least you've taken that risk, and now you've got the ball rolling. At least you've got some momentum. Sometimes you have to take one step back to take 2 steps forward, man. What's your opinion on that?
Basically, every problem that everybody in the world has, it doesn't matter what your problem is physically, it all stems from the same thing, which is that people have no control over their mind. You have no control over your mind. You're not able to, you stay still because you can't look at something from a different perspective. Something can happen to me, the worst thing in the world could happen to me, and it would be a positive. I could feel absolutely terrible. You know, maybe I was a little bit tired over there, and okay, it's time to do a podcast. Boom, mind turned on. You have to be able to switch your mindset in an instant. You have to have complete control over your thoughts. And if you can do that, you can literally do anything.
100%. Yeah. You know, so many days I feel tired and then I just start doing anything. It might be something as simple as calling my mum. Now I have energy again. Because now I've built the habit of just momentum. Or then I drink a protein shake. Maybe then I tidy my room. Anything. Just now you've got the ball rolling and now you have more energy to open up your laptop and actually solve bigger problems. So 100%. I think we talked about that momentum and energy point a lot. Anyone at home who feels stuck, just start doing anything. You know, do something. Anything is better than nothing.
Literally get up and do 10 push-ups and boom, now you're in the top 1% now.
Yeah.
You just catapulted yourself to the top because you did one thing.
Yeah. And now you feel like a winner because that's the main thing. You start changing your self-identity.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. How can people, I mean, I think we've already expanded on this. You know, how can people get out of that victim mindset just by doing things and starting to win?
Biggest thing is to literally just change your environment, right? We were talking about travel a lot. I've traveled a lot this year. I've been to probably 10 different countries in the past year. I was in Spain yesterday. Now I'm in Dubai. I'm going to be in America in a few weeks. You literally can just change your environment. But you have to be so specific about what your environment is because it severely affects your mindset, right? If you're living at home, of course you're going to be a loser.
For sure.
You're going to feel like a loser because you don't have anything of your own. You don't have your own place. Your mom's telling you what to do, you know, whatever. And then you could move away, but now you're in an even worse house. You're in a shitty apartment. Maybe your mindset gets even worse because now you have something, but it's complete shit, right? So the best thing you need to do is, you talk about this a lot, right? Go to a 5-star hotel and get a drink in the lobby.
Yeah.
You can level up your mindset just by seeing what's possible, seeing what people on another, you know, seeing how the other side lives, as they would say, and you can start to see yourself doing that thing.
I say this a lot, like go to a 5-star hotel and just order a hot chocolate. It costs $10 because sometimes these nice places charge more. Then you're going to see people wearing gold APs. Then you're going to see people wearing nice clothes. You're going to see women with $20,000 Birkin bags. You're going to expand your mindset and be like, that's possible for me. They're human beings just like me. And you're going to realize it's real. Because when you just see things on social media, you might not think this is real. Maybe he's wearing a fake watch. Maybe it's a rented car. Maybe it's this and that. But when you constantly are in real life seeing women with $20,000 bags, seeing dudes with 300K watches, it does something to your mind. You're like, someone's got these nice things. And I say this a lot. You might think this watch is fake. It's not. But you can think what you want. You guys saw a couple of my cars earlier today. People online might think these things are fake. But Ferrari's a big company. Someone's buying these Ferraris. So whether you believe me or not, someone's out here driving Ferraris. Someone out here is sleeping with these hot women. Someone out here is selling these supplements. Someone out here is doing it for real. Yeah. So that's kind of what I say to people. It's like, even if you don't think it's possible for yourself right now, someone out there is doing these things. Someone out there is living in those penthouses in your city. So it's real. It's possible, bro.
Yeah, and that's why, and we'll talk about this a little bit. We'll talk about going to Asia versus going to different places. A lot of people They start their business, they start working online, they make a couple grand a month, maybe they move out of their home city. First place people go, they go Thailand, Bali, Philippines, Vietnam, places like that, which is good for a couple months. I did a year in Bali last year.
Okay. Yeah.
Me and my friends, we met, we started Sabre, and we moved to Bali in order to, get the company off the ground. It was a great experience. We had a lot of great times in Bali, but there's a certain point, and you should be hitting it after 6, 7, 8 months. If you don't hit the point after 6, 7, 8 months that you feel like you should leave, that means you're not doing enough. You're not getting big enough. The problem is that everything's very cheap, everything's very accessible, which is great when you're just starting out. You don't have anything, you need things to be accessible, right? Because you need to focus on the business. But at a certain point, you start making some money, cash starts coming in. Okay, the nicest restaurant on the island isn't that nice. You never see any nice car, you never see any nice thing. And the whole system is built on how do you do less.
Yeah.
So it invades your mind. You start thinking, how do I live on less? How do I do less? How do I scrimp and save here? So as soon as you start making a little bit of money, you need to get out of those places. You need to go to a tier 1 city, go Miami, Dubai, LA even, so you can see what's possible, right? If you've never seen a Lamborghini before, it's going to seem like Lamborghinis aren't even real.
Bro, yeah.
You see one here in Dubai, you see one every 3 feet. Okay, well, if everyone here has a Lamborghini, why don't I?
It just starts normalizing. I don't want to talk about certain topics in this podcast just because we're on YouTube, but, there's some people in this world, powerful people, and they're normalizing some very weird things, right? We all know what I'm talking about. So even the most weird, dodgy things become more normalized the more you see about them or the more you hear about them. It's the same thing with money and wealth. The more you see people around you with nice watches, nice cars, nice girls, nice apartments, nice houses. Last year I was living in a mansion on the beach. Like when you actually think about it, it's crazy, and the more you're around other people who do these things, you're like, this is so accessible for myself. This guy's not better than me. I'm not any better than you guys at home watching this. I'm just a normal dude from Coventry in England, and I just step by step built myself. So yeah, man, even the highest of levels get normalized. Sometimes I forget the level that we're operating on just because all of our friends are doing well. We're in these higher level circles. And you only realize when you kind of look out for a minute and you're like, the average dude's making like 40K a year. In England, the average dude makes £30,000 a year.
It's insane.
Like, it's such a small amount of money. There are people making that per hour, per day, why can't you? And you can. That's the thing. But yeah, when you're in places like Bali, it's so hard to scale properly.
And people aren't going to believe that. People are going to see that to be like, oh, there's no way that I can literally just do better by seeing a Lamborghini.
You can, yeah.
But you can see it. You can see it in the real world, right?
Yeah.
Why do people get stuck in lives of crime for multiple generations? Because you grow up around it. It's completely normalized.
Yeah.
Why do people from rich families usually stay rich, even if their parents don't give them money? A lot of these rich kids, their parents aren't giving them a salary. Yeah. Perhaps they help them get a good job, but they stay wealthy because that's where their standards are at. They've never been inside of a terrible car. They've never lived in a shitty apartment. They're never going to because their baseline is set at a certain level.
100%.
You can just have standards for yourself.
Your self-esteem is just higher. It's so true. And that's the thing, when you're around the right people, you're like, this is the minimum I'm going to go. If every single one of your friends is making $500,000 a month, then you're not going to make 2K a month. If every one of your friends is making 100K a month, you're not going to be on minimum wage. They're going to show you things. They're going to teach you things. You're going to learn sales from them, marketing from them, how to handle yourself in certain rooms, how to use your time, be more resourceful. You're going to just start picking up on things. You're going to start learning how urgent they are. They move with more urgency in a day than you do in a year. You're going to pick up on things, behavioral traits.
And everybody knows that because everybody has picked up traits from their friends before.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't start doing handstands until I saw my business partner Pierre doing handstands. I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to start doing handstands. And now I'm doing handstand push-ups only because that I saw that he was doing them, so I know it's possible. And you get there way quicker than if I wouldn't have seen somebody doing handstand push-ups.
Yeah, or if you heard online that only 0.0001%, for example, can do a handstand push-up, you're going to be like, there's no real point of trying right now. It's going to take too much time. But if your friend does it and he's like, bro, this is easy. It takes this long. Then it becomes normal. Like, yeah, this shit's easy. When I saw you guys do earlier, I asked Pierre, how long would you say this takes you if you do this and this? He's like, not too many hours of conscious effort of trying. It's like, okay, yeah, doesn't sound too hard, In fact, you actually try to do something, you're going to pick up on it soon. Build yourself up, do it against the wall. So maybe I should go learn how to do it now. So
And if you were hanging around us every day, you would probably be doing handstand push-ups.
Then I'll do it
and
every
burpees.
day
Exactly.
because you're doing it every day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly that. Man.
People need to stop reading statistics.
That's so true.
You hear it's the classic one: 9 out of 10 businesses fail or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but 100% of your businesses could succeed.
Precisely.
Right. Statistics only apply to a broad range of people. Statistics mean absolutely nothing to you, and they mean absolutely nothing to me.
And also, depending on which country you live in, I think the average wage in America is how much? 45?
55 maybe, yeah.
Okay, it's gone up now. Inflation. But the average wage in America is $55,000. I think the average wage in England is maybe like £34,000, something along those lines. That's the average. Like, that means half of the whole population make more than that amount of money.
It
And
means
it's not
half
hard.
that make less.
Of course, but that means it's not hard to be making more than that because that's the average. You obviously have goals of making millions of dollars. So if that's your goals, why would you care that the average business has a 93% chance of failing? Because the average dude makes 30K a year, like 40K a year. Who gives a fuck about the average dude? The average dude's not even a competition because the average dude just jerks off all day, watches Netflix, smokes weed, drinks all the time. They're not even competition.
And people get caught up in that too. People
Yeah.
are like, oh, well, I mean, I'm doing better than the average guy, or I'm doing better than all my friends.
You have
Who
a great
cares?
tweet about that. Do you want to share it? About how, like, some dude might be doing just above average, making 70K a year. He has his wife. Do you want to show that?
Yeah. This was one of my most viral tweets of all time, and it's because people got mad when they saw it. I was like, look, you're an average guy. You make 85K a year. You know, you're above average. You have this. Maybe you have a dog. You have a wife that kind of loves you. You know, maybe she's like a 6.5. You know, you have a couple of friends. You play games on the weekend. You're a loser. You're a loser.
That's good.
You're slightly above average is no better than being average.
Yeah, you're the same. You're in the same bell curve. You're in the same category of shit.
You have average right here that's above average, making low six figures here. And then you have people who are actually in the arena are over here.
Yeah.
They're not even in the same realm of possibility. Guys like me and you are not even in the same universe as someone like that.
It's because it's programming, it's standards, it's self-esteem, it's bad habits. It all compounds together and just turns him into a loser. And it's all about what you see as normal. It literally does come down to that. You know, even when people say, oh, I want to make top 1% income. You know, like, it's not actually that hard to be top 1% of anything. You know, I'm not sure if you know this, but there's a statistic that says if you want to be in the top 5% at anything, you have to put 100 hours of conscious effort.
That's a week.
Literally. 14-hour days for a week. Or let's say 7-hour days for 2 weeks. Or let's say 3.5-hour days for a month. Right? It's
That's
nothing, right? So you can literally work a normal 9-to-5 job, come home, eat dinner, spend time with your family, walk your dog, and spend 3 hours learning a certain skill. And within a month, you're in the top 5%. Now, to be in the top 1%, let's just say 700 hours, let's say 1,000 hours. Even then, a bit longer, no problem. Like, it's not actually that hard to be in the top 1% of income because most people are not good at sales. They're not good at marketing. And also, this is another cool thing for people to understand. If you just become at the top 5% or top 10% at anything, which is very easy to do, 50 hours of effort would probably get you there. Top 5% at sales, top 10% at sales, top 10% at marketing, top 10% at being nice to people, providing value to other people, having top 10% energy levels. If you mix all these top 10% together, you're overall top 1% as a man because most people are so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be a top 1% dude. It's so easy, bro.
The problem is that nobody has more than one skill. You meet guys that maybe they have a lot of money, they have a very successful business, they're nerds, they're out of shape, they can't speak on camera, they can't do a podcast for 2 hours without stuttering, and they have no other skills but this one. Or you have a guy who's super jacked, super athletic, but he's broke, he has no girls, he has nothing else except for that one thing.
Just the meathead stereotype,
Exactly.
right?
Even the people who are exceptional in one thing, none of them are doing anything else. So if you have a couple of traits, you're in decent shape, you can fight, you've done some boxing training, and you make, above average income, now you're automatically him.
That's the thing as well. When Reece was talking about that point of, like, say you make 85K, yeah, 85 is definitely more than average. That's fine. And for a lot of you guys who are watching this, I'm certainly not trying to discourage you, and neither is Reece. It's more so a case of understanding that if you just make 85K a year and the rest of your life is shit, then you are very, very low level overall.
Yeah.
Say you're making 85K a year and you're a young dude and you're in good shape and you're charismatic and you've traveled the world a lot and you have good connections, you're well on your way to achieving big, big things in life. And that's more successful than a guy making $1 million a year who's got nothing else. So it's definitely about being the whole package overall. Like, you have to have a more holistic approach to life too many young guys nowadays, because of all these people online talking about money, 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 money. They think that money is the only thing they need to focus on. And yet they're so bad at communicating. They're so insecure. They cannot talk to women. You know, I've been on so many dates with girls and they say, you're a good speaker. Like, I've been on many dates in Romania and they have this word. I forgot the word now. It's been a long time since I've been in Romania. It's it's like when you're sweet with your words. It'll come to me in a second. Regelo, I think. Some Romanian dude will tell me if I'm right. Regelo or some shit. It just basically means you're sweet with your words. You're good with your words. Most guys, even if they have a bit of money, they're on a date with a girl and they don't know what to talk about besides stocks and shares. And obviously I play into it. I ask the girl, like, what do you mean? You know, why are they bad at talking and all this stuff? And they just say, like, they're talking about work and they're boring and everyone's a loser. Like, your tweet is perfect. That's why it went so viral, because you triggered all these insecure people who know it's the truth.
Because that's everybody, and those people think they're winning. They're like, oh, I'm doing a little bit better.
That's why it's the best tweet ever.
It might be actually the best tweet ever.
It's such a good template as well. It'll go viral again.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're prodding them.
You're hitting all the right buttons. Because deep down they know that they're not exactly happy, right?
For sure.
And honestly, as a man, you should never be happy. I mean, you should be happy, but you should never be content with what you have, right? As soon as you're content, you start dying. Nothing should ever be enough, all right? You hit this milestone, what's next? You get to this PR on deadlift, what's next? You make this amount of money, what's next? You need to be constantly pushing forward.
100% agreed. What would you say to those people who aren't, like, on average income or just above average even, or maybe just below, and they think they're doing pretty good in life, but let me rephrase this question again. I've met a lot of people who are doing pretty decent, like maybe just a bit above average, but they act like they're, you know, the CEO of JP Morgan, like Jamie Dimon, I think is his name, or these top dudes. They'll think they're like Usain Bolt. Like, you're just literally making 80K a year. What would you say to those people? Like, how can they start accepting that they're not actually who they think they are and they need to level up further?
If you are genuinely content with your life at that level, then great.
Yeah, that's true.
Then great. Like, it's not always about money, right? Different people have different goals. Not everybody actually legitimately wants to be a business owner and make a lot of money.
That's true.
But there's something that you want that you're not working towards. It could be athletic development. It could be you could want to play an instrument and you've never started, right? So whatever you actually want to do that you're not doing is what you need to focus on. It doesn't have to be money. Not everyone wants to be rich, but there's something that you want to do that you're not doing.
I agree a lot. That's a good point. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Too many people have a one-dimensional focus on life. They think it's all about money, and they don't realize that. Yeah, you know what? I had a guy that I was speaking to, and he thought, so I'm not going to mention his name, but this dude was like maybe like 54 kilograms body weight. So I don't know what that is in pounds. I think it's like 117
It's like
pounds.
nothing, basically.
Yeah, it's very small. And he thought that once he starts making 10K a month, he's going to get all these girls. And I said to him, I was like, listen to me, bro. Like, even if you make 10K a month, you're going to be cooked because you're small, like very small. You don't really know how to speak to girls. At the moment, being truthful, you seem quite insecure. You know, there's a lot of things you're missing. You haven't got that many life experiences. I said, for you, money's not actually the top priority. Like, forget the money. You need to go gym. You need to do sparring. You need to travel. You need to leave your parents' house. You got to get yourself some experiences, some stories. You need to hang around other people who are a lot bigger, a lot stronger than you, who are cooler than you. That will build you up much faster. And anyway, he went from like a low level in business to 10K a month. And he's like, bro, you're so right. I was like, obviously, duh, like I know. But the point is, at least he now knows, and he's now working on these other things.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think that making this much money means all the girls are going to love them now and their life is fine. Like, no, bro, you're still cooked.
It's actually probably the lowest leverage thing. If your goal is to get women,
if
your goal is to get women, you should get in shape and go work a job as a bartender. That's going to get you way more girls than, you know, making an email business or something for 10K a month. You're on your computer writing emails in a spreadsheet doc for your clients. You're not getting any girls with that.
Yeah.
If you're 117 pounds.
100% agree. And also, it's like, you don't walk through life with, you know, a number on your forehead saying how many dollars you have. No, it's not tattooed on your shoulder. This is how many millions I have. No one fucking knows.
It's about your swag. Like,
100%.
It's your aura.
So if you walk into a room and you're 117 pounds and you know, what was worse about this situation with this dude is he was just deluded on a lot of things. So, and I was trying to help him. He thought he was going to beat me in a fight. He thought he was quicker than me at running, all these different things. So we challenged it, you know, we had like a little friendly like wrestling competition. And obviously like when he lost, I was like, bro, you need to be more realistic and you need to, and he worked on himself. Now he's a lot better in a lot of different areas. So you just need someone to keep it real with you.
Yeah.
A lot of guys just live in delusion because even accepting the idea for 1 second that they're not that guy is like very painful for them. I've always had that approach of I want to get better, man. I don't know shit in the grand scheme of things, and I want to keep.
That's why fighting is so important, because fighting is basically you walk into a boxing gym your first day. Everybody thinks they can fight. Every man on this planet, I could fight. I could handle myself. I could get it done if I needed to. When I see red, bro, you walk into a boxing gym your first day. Some dude who weighs 50 pounds less than you is gonna beat the absolute shit out of
100%.
you, and he's gonna keep doing it for the next 4, 5, 6 months until you finally land a jab on him. The only way to build your aura, build your swag, whatever you want to call it, is you have to completely tear everything down and rebuild it from the ground up, because it's not real until you tear it down.
100%. Great point. Yeah, people want to just live in this fantasy land, this la la land. You know, they don't want to get punched in the face. They don't want to go to a girl and get rejected. I mean, like, why do people find it intimidating to go talk to a girl they like? When you actually break it down, the only reason is because they know there's a chance they're going to get rejected. If someone told you right now that every girl you speak to, there's a 100% chance she's going to want your number and want to sleep with you.
You talk to every girl you ever see.
Literally anyone, even if they're just a bit above average, you'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I want her today.
Okay,
I'm in the mood for... Right. But the reason why a lot of guys don't talk to any girls is because they're insecure. They're going to get rejected. And then what's actually the problem with rejection? Nothing. Like, the girl's going to forget about it. You'll forget about it. It's just that you don't want to have your illusion of I'm cool crushed. And that applies to everything. Same thing with fighting. A lot of these people, bro, let me tell you a fucking story. So I like this guy a lot. He helped me with a lot of things. He used to be my cameraman. He thought he could beat this dude in a fight. It was like this jiu-jitsu world champion. You know this guy, Mike Memasui?
Yeah.
So he thought he could beat him in a fight. I was like, what, bro? And this is a smart dude. He goes to a good uni in Dubai. He does architecture, whatever you call it. And he's a smart dude. So I was like, bro, wait, hold on. Are you trolling me? He's like, no, I'm serious. I was like, bro, why the fuck do you think you can beat this dude in a fight? He's a jiu-jitsu world champion. By the way, I called this guy out on a fight, but I was trolling. Like, of course I'm not going to beat a jiu-jitsu world champion. And he said, bro, the guy's like 5'6". He weighs this much. Now, this dude that I'm talking to was like 5'8". And sure, he weighs more, but he's not exactly Mr. Olympia. He's not exactly Conor McGregor. He's not, the super, most athletic, powerful, fighting build kind of guy. He just goes to the gym and he's strong. I said, bro, what are you talking about? You must be joking. Long story short, we just started doing some like body sparring, like very lightly. We didn't have gloves, so we were just using our hands, like barehanded. And after like a minute and 10 seconds, he was like really tired. And then he was like, all right, I admit, the jiu-jitsu guy would have obviously beat me. I was like, okay, good. Because he'd never done any sparring before. Now, I don't blame him for having that opinion. If you've never done something, it makes sense. But the point I'm making is so many guys out there have never done any sparring, never spoken to any girls, and they'll just see you post a picture online. They'll be like, that's easy, or that girl's mid, or this and that. And they're just living in la la land.
Yeah.
And that's not me talking bad about this guy. If you watch the podcast, he's a good friend of mine. He's a cool guy. But
when I first started boxing, I walk into the boxing gym, I'm 5'10", I walk around at 80 kilo. Like, I'm not a small guy. I walk into the gym, and first day I'm sparring with this guy. He's 5'4". He fights at 50 kilograms.
Yeah.
Tiny. Pro boxer. Any guy walks into that gym, sees that guy, yeah, it's easy work.
I hate that.
That guy
it's so deluded.
beat the piss out of me for months.
Of course.
And that's the only way you get better.
Yeah.
Actually, Mikey, what's his last name?
Mike Memasui.
Mike, whatever. He's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. He's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world. He's top of his craft. He looks like a fucking geek. That dude's not getting any girls because he has no other stat points in any other areas. He has 100% stats in this area and no other things going on.
To be fair, I don't know. In this case, I actually might disagree just because I think... So he's obviously a world champion. I'm sure he's getting paid some money. Like, he's definitely doing well financially. I think he has a YouTube channel. He seems like he's a nice guy. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to just put this guy on blast. I don't.
Yeah. I'm using him as an example.
Yeah. But someone like him.
Someone like him, he maxed out stats in one area.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. And the thing is, in this example, the reason why I actually disagreed just with that point is because if you're actually the best in the world, he's going to be a millionaire. He's going to be famous.
Yeah.
People are going to know him. He's going to have the best connections. Like if he sends us a DM, we're going to reply. Like he's a high level dude, right? But if you're just really good at something, but you're not the best of the best, that's like the worst.
Yeah.
Let's say you're top 1% of jiu-jitsu or top 0.1%. You're still not making any money. You look like a bit nerdy. No one really cares about jiu-jitsu that much. Sure, you can beat a lot of guys and most 99.9% of people in a fight, but again, no one really cares. You just don't look cool and you're broke. And you have no time for business. You have no time for anything else.
There's realistically a lot of fighters in the world, MMA fighters, that could be the UFC champion. They have the skills to be the UFC champion. You will never know their name because they're lacking other attributes, right? They don't have any showmanship. They don't have any charisma. They don't know how to make deals with people like Dana White. You'll never know who they are despite them having the skills to succeed.
Yeah, I think unless you're going to actually be the best in the world at anything, it's so much better just to be in like the top 2 or 3% and not even aim to be the top 0.00. Because even if you're top 0.1% of music or athletics, sports, fighting, you're still going to be broke. That's why I like business so much more than anything else, because with business, if you're in the top 1% in America or top 1% globally, you need to make like 200K a year. Top 1% in America, I think it's 400 to 500K a year. If you're in the top 0.1% in business, you're going to live an incredible life. You're financially secure, amazing family. You do anything you want. If you're on the top 0.1% at piano, you're still broke.
Nobody cares.
No one cares about the top 1 in 1,000 people at piano. If you told me you're top 1 in 1,000 people in piano, like, I won't even know. You could tell me and I'll believe you. Like, it's not impressive.
Okay, bro. You're good at playing piano.
Like, who cares? Unless you're the best of the best, like, you're literally people pay to see you perform, you're still a geek.
Yeah, pretty much.
That might piss people off, but it's the truth, man. And I think a lot of you guys with hobbies, if you just took those hobbies, took all that time and mental energy and put it towards business, and you became the top 1% of business, all right, now you're actually a rich dude. You're making money. You're making doctor salary. You're making more than that. You'd have a much better life.
Yeah, and then if you get in the gym on top of that, now you're lapping everybody else.
Yeah, because it's like top 1% times top 1%, 0.01 times 0.01.
Yeah, carry the one, do the division, and you're him. That's
Exactly.
basically how the math works out.
Exactly. So what would you say to people watching this podcast who right now are like, yo, you guys are spitting facts. Like you guys, I couldn't agree more. I'm sure they are because we're spitting facts. What would you say is their first move?
Your first move is to, like we said, literally do anything, right?
Yeah, I agree.
You need to figure out what you want out of life, and that's not the same for everybody, right? Maybe you don't care about being rich. Maybe you don't care about watches and cars and lifestyle or whatever. Maybe you want to be super jacked. Well, did you work out today? How was your diet today? You know, hone in on what you actually want and just take the first step. That's what most people are lacking. And if you're already taking the right steps, then you need to figure out how you can 5x your input. If you're already doing the right steps, you know, you're on the right track, you've started a business or you've started doing this, that, how are you going to double your input? That's the next lever you can move.
Couldn't agree more once again, man. Couldn't agree more. You know, a lot of people would be so much happier if they just made 5K a month, had no employees, did 2 to 3 hours of work on their laptop, work they enjoyed, and they maybe lived in Shanghai, China. They learned Chinese at the same time. They also learned piano. They also did some jiu-jitsu. They ate noodles, had fun with the locals, and they're going to live a very fulfilling life.
Yeah, that's a great life.
It's a great life. It even sounds quite appealing to me, you know. So I think that every life can be good. It just depends on who wants to live that life. And also, you go through different seasons in life. That's another big thing. You know, you guys lived in Bali for 1 year. And the reason why that's so good is because you properly maxed that out.
Yeah.
I've been to Bali, I'd say, I've been to Bali 3 times. And one time I went for 2 months, but not a year. And not with like 5 or 6 of my friends. It was just me. Oh no, I had 4. So 3 other friends besides me. And it was good, but I don't feel like I fully maxed out the entire map of Bali. You know, so it's good in life to max things out. Because now you don't have any desire to relive Bali for a year. You've done it. You completed the game.
And that's when you know it's time to leave, is
sure.
when you legitimately do not want to go back there. Like, thinking of going back to Bali right now, I do not want to. We maxed out Bali possibly harder than anybody else has. I can't even speak about most of the things that happen in Bali because they would get us banned off of this application. Like, Bali was the craziest year of my life.
He's nodding his head.
Bali was the absolute craziest year of our lives.
Well, okay, just to cut you off really quickly, what would you say top 3 lessons you learned from that year?
Push the pace. Push the pace is what we've been talking about today. We were there for a year. We pushed the pace to an inhuman level for about 6 months. After that 6 months,
The first 6 months, the last 6 months.
right in the first 6 months is when we were really pushing the pace. The last couple months we were there, priorities shifted a little bit. We had to go lock in on the business a little bit more. We sent it so hard for 6 months that I don't even have a desire to send it for the next year, right? We did everything you can do in the entire region. We went to multiple countries, went to Korea, different cities in Indonesia, doing crazy stuff, meeting, hanging out. We're in the club with the best fighters in Asia. We're over here, we're doing this. We're getting in knife fights on the street, which I won't speak about. Just things are just happening. And it taught us a lot of lessons. Number one being that you can just do things, right? You can just move to a foreign country, start a business with your friends, and start leveling up. The second thing is that there's a time for everything, right? Maybe we push the pace on certain things a little bit too hard when we should have been pushing the pace on other things, but I wouldn't take any of it back.
Okay, guys, what we're going to do now, we're going to ask each other some questions. So Reece is going to ask me some questions. I'm going to ask him some questions. So you go first.
For the younger guys watching this right now, what is the one tip you would give them to start leveling up?
I'd say if you're a young guy, move out of your parents' house. It's going to absolutely change your life. No matter which situation you're in life right now, once you move out your parents' house, everything's going to get better. You're going to make more money. You're going to have more fun. You're going to get more girls. Everything is better when you don't have your parents shouting in your ear saying, clean the dishes, do this, do that. You need your own space if you want to grow as a man. You need to get out of your comfort zone. If every day you have warm cooked meals for you waiting there at 6 p.m., you're never going to take the risks. You're never going to get to the next level. Your parents want you to be safe, to be comfortable. You don't need that as a man. You need risk and adventure.
Good answer.
Okay, so you're obviously in supplements. What would you say is the most important supplement? Is it creatine, beta-alanine? Which one?
So creatine is probably the most important supplement that you can take as a man. It does so many things. People think about it as a muscle gym supplement, which it is, right? It's going to fill you up with water. It's going to help you build more muscle. It's going to make you stronger. But what people don't talk about is that creatine is a nootropic. It has massive effects on your brain. It's going to make you learn things faster. It's going to make you recall memories faster. It's going to completely transform your brain function. There's even some studies that are showing that it can treat depression. So it has extremely powerful effects on your brain. If I could only take, now it might not be the one supplement I could take, but it would be probably top 3 supplements if I could only pick 3.
Awesome.
So Hassan, why are you wearing a shirt covered in $100 bills today?
It's because I'm made of money. I like to remind myself money's important. If I surround myself with abundance, I'm going to make more money. It's got the gold AP on, got the shirt with money. Money's always on my mind. What do you think is the best gym routine for young guys? Is that full body, certain split? What is it?
Yeah, if you're just getting into the gym, I think you should focus on strength, which is going to be full body, either 3 or 4 times a week. You want to focus on the big lifts, bench press, squat, deadlift, pull-ups. You need to build a base when you're a young guy, right? All the fancy training routines, the push-pull legs, the upper-lower, the this, the that. It doesn't matter if you don't have a base, right? If you're walking into this 140 pounds, you just need to get your squat up, get your bench up, get your deadlift up. That's going to put muscle on your frame. And then you can chisel it down into a more refined version with more advanced training protocols later on. So at what point in someone's business career do you think that they should start buying toys like cars or watches instead of putting all the money back into the business?
Yeah, I think it depends massively on each person. It depends on how much they're trying to grow. It depends which kind of business they have. Let's say you do supplements. You buying an AP won't really make you any more supplement sales, right? It's pretty useless. You're much better off spending that money on better packaging, better suppliers, all that kind of stuff, better website, more VAs, all this kind of stuff. If you're selling info, if you're trying to grow on social media through your personal brand, and you're trying to get more credibility, then maybe a toy can help you. So I think that depends. I think it's a good time to buy when you cannot see any other obvious investments to make. So if you haven't even got an assistant or like a cleaner or a couple VAs or you don't have a website built, they're much more bigger priorities first than maybe a nice watch. That's kind of my answer on it. When you can't really see another obvious investment. and you have some spare cash, you're like, okay, this is literally just sitting here. I might as well. But don't spend all your money on some nice car or nice watch and then effectively be homeless. That's quite stupid. All right. My question for you will be, if someone has $5,000 to their name and they're between the ages of 18 to 24, what would you recommend they do if they want to live a similar life like you? Have fun.
So I was in the exact same situation. I had $5,000 in a savings account. I was working a normal job. I was a security guard at the time. And I took that $5,000. I used $1,000 of it to go on a flight to Thailand, another $500 on accommodation in Thailand for 3 months. I quit my job, went to Thailand, no plan, no cash flow. I just had an idea that I was going to make something work online. I was going to make money appear from thin air somehow in the next 3 months. And I lived off that $5,000 for the 3 months. And by the time it was time to leave Thailand, things were working. It's because I forced myself to take a huge risk.
Was this, how long before was this from Bali? Like, when was this?
This was about, I went to Thailand almost exactly a year before I went to Bali. So I went to Thailand before I was on Twitter, before you knew who I was, went to Thailand, and then I went back to the States for a little bit, then I went to Colombia, then I went to Bali. But the first move I made was 5 racks in the savings account, fly to Bali, no plan, make something work. And that's basically what got me here.
I say this all the time, people. I say this all the time to people. I say, if you have $5,000 in your bank account or you have $3,624, in the grand scheme of things, it's the same. Like, either way, you're pretty broke. Either way, you cannot live the lifestyle you want. Like, we both know it's all about the cash flow you have coming in. It's about the money coming in per month, per year. It's not about how much money you have sat in the bank account, because
that's a timer.
That's a great way of putting it. I didn't think about it like that. But yeah, it's literally a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Precisely. So sure, if you have 25K instead of 10K, it'll give you more time to figure things out, more time to, more capital to buy a desk, to do things, to buy a camera, to buy a mic. Sure. But in the grand scheme of reality, you're still broke. And a lot of normies, a lot of normal people thinking how much you have in the bank. Rich people don't think about how much they have. They think about the inflow versus outflow. That's how you need to think about business. So yeah, man, I agree. That's the best way to do it. Because if you're just going to stay in your security job, let's say you're making this much money per month, let's say 4K a month, 3K a month, but your outgoings are like 2.5. You're only increasing your bank account by such a small amount every month. It's like, in 5 months, you're going to be now on 10K instead of 5K. It's just too slow.
And extending your timer, giving yourself more time, is going to make your results come slower.
Yeah.
If you know you can survive for a year, your pace is not going to be as high as if you know you only have 12 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like the question, could you make $1 million if your family was held hostage in a year? Well, of course you could, because you have a timer, and your timer is short. The shorter you can make your timer artificially by just full sending it and taking a risk, the faster you're going to see results come in.
100%. That's why I'm always talking about deadlines. You need to create these deadlines, but daily deadlines are the best, or even hourly deadlines. There's no limit to how much you can push the pace. If you say to yourself, I wake up at this time, and within the first 4 hours of me waking up, I need to have gone to the gym and have done these 10 phone calls, then you're going to be more successful than the guy thinking about 10 years down the line, just jerking off, watching TV.
Yeah.
So
how does your mindset change when you're traveling around versus when you're in your home base here in Dubai?
Good question. I'm way more locked in and focused when I'm in Dubai. But when I'm traveling, I do gain new ideas. I do probably have more fun because there's more dopamine. You're just exploring new places. But I'm definitely more focused in Dubai. And I think if you want to be successful as a guy, I think 80% of the time, 85% of the time, 90% maybe you should be locked in one place. And then the rest of the time you can explore a bit more. If you're always traveling around, it's just not that productive.
Yeah.
It's so hard to become successful and build a big business if every 3 weeks you have a new Airbnb, you have a new gym membership you have to sign up for, new restaurants you go to, new friends, new everything, new haircut, new grocery store, new everything, new petrol station. Oh, I have to rent this car and return the car keys here. It's like, you can't even buy anything. Like Pierre was saying earlier today, when you have your own place, you have your own setup. Okay, we can buy this desk, we can buy this chair, we can buy this car, this thing, these friends. Let's go to these 5 restaurants. It's 10 times better.
Yeah, 100%.
My question for you would be, what would you say is your biggest strength And what would you say is your biggest weakness?
My biggest strength and my biggest weakness are probably the same thing, and it's my ability to gain attention, which obviously helps me build my personal brand. It helps me grow my company, but it also has the ability to make everyone mad and maybe have a lot of negative energy coming towards me. So it's a very useful skill, but when you misuse it, as I often do, it can backlash a little bit.